We're going to look at a rare collection of ancient North American maps from the mid-1500s to the early 1800s, which reveal a chilling story of at least two massive cataclysmic earth changes. One major event in the mid-1600s turned California into an island and later back into a peninsula. It also split a single giant lake in Canada into what is now Lake Manitoba and Lake Winnipeg. This split appears to have caused the formation of the Great Lakes of the Midwest and thousands of smaller lakes just to their north. The second cataclysmic event of the early 1800s seems to have crumbled the mountains containing a massive ancient 3,300 square mile inland lake or sea, which was called Comets, creating the Grand Canyon, the Great Salt Lake, and all of the destruction we see in the southwestern United States. Not millions of years ago, as we are told by lamestream science. Perhaps by coincidence or not, this massive sea was only about 100 miles south of what is now Yellowstone National Park. We are also told by lamestream science that it has been 630,000 years since the last Yellowstone eruption. Strangely, the trees in Yellowstone look to be very young, only a couple of hundred years old at best. But that's another story. Or is it? Let's take a look at the United States today, at least according to Google Earth. Have you ever noticed that the lush green United States looks like a 6,000 kiloton bomb went off right around Yellowstone and blew away everything to the south and west of it? Unless old man America just suddenly went bald there from aging, something just doesn't add up. By no coincidence, this is right where the Lake Connibus was located on maps up until the early 1800s and never seen again after. This lake or sea, Connibus, was 130 miles long by 111 miles wide. You can still see the heart-shaped imprint of it on Google Maps today, which matches the same shape the ancient cartographers used on their maps. You'll also notice that both the Grand Canyon and the Glen Canyon start clearly at the perimeter of this ancient dried-up lake bed. Another coincidence? Researchers of the mud floods and Tartarian destruction might recognize where this is going. But Sherman, let's set the Wayback Machine to 1544 and see what the early explorers and cartographers had to say. They were the Google Earth of their time, after all. On these maps before 1650, notice California as part of the mainland, Lake Connibus to its northeast, and the remarkable absence of the 5 Great Lakes in the Midwest. We can see that cartographers from the 15 and 1600s already possessed very detailed knowledge of the towns and peoples in these lands, yet failed to map or mention the biggest lakes in the world? Then when did they appear? Where did they come from? And what massive event created them? Suddenly, sometime around the mid-1600s, the Great Lakes appear out of nowhere, and California is now an island that ships can sail completely around. How did that happen? From 1650 up until around 1810, the Great Lakes are consistently shown, but we can see that some of the maps show California as an island while others still show it as a peninsula. At this point, we must emphasize that plagiarism was the norm in cartography, so we have no way of knowing what and how much are copied from earlier maps. These are obviously not the only maps in existence for that time period. Other maps may come up showing there were Great Lakes indeed mapped at that time, in which case the Great Lakes theory would be out the window. It is just that, a theory. But one thing that really stands out is that Connibus was clearly there right up until around 1810, as was California, an island. On the maps from 1810 and onwards, Lake Connibus is nowhere to be found. The Great Salt Lake appears west of where Connibus used to be. California is no longer an island, and maps are lacking any detail of the whole area. Something drastically changed the topography of the land. But what? In part 2, we'll examine the comet records and also the slew of bizarre electrical atmospheric phenomenon, earthquakes, volcanoes, plagues, and other strange events happening worldwide at exactly these same time periods. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.